Hello, this is Carol Morgan with Life, Dreams, and More. I'm so happy you came to watch how dreams have helped others. I love to share these stories about pets and their owners. The story I want to share with you now is regarding a horse and its owner. Sam had walked into this bar and he was having a drink when another gentleman came to the bar and sat next to him and introduced himself as his horse. Yes, his horse. Sam had some horses on his property, and so this horse was able to tell him that he needed a new shoe. And Sam also noticed that this man was missing a front tooth. So he left the bar and he then shared this dream with his wife. When he woke up in the morning, they went down to the barn and they noticed that there was a commotion around where this man or this horse was. And he also noticed that there was blood on the top part of the door. With that, he rushed back and he saw that the horse was missing a tooth. He rushed back, looked at his foot, and sure enough, he needed a new hoof. So who knows? Soul equals soul. So that, to me, that's a wonderful story. The next one is about a parrot. This doctor I went to had a parrot, and she was very concerned about it, and she is an active dreamer. And she was concerned because this bird had flown away, and one night she had a dream, and she saw her bird flying very happily in a flock. So here she was given peace of mind, knowing that her bird was okay. So if you have a question regarding your animals, just ask in the dream state, is there anything you need to know or what's wrong with them? Soul equals soul. Sandy really wanted to become pregnant, and she was told by the doctors that it would be very, very difficult. And one night she had a dream where she saw doctors working on her, and they handed her a prescription. And she read that the prescription was ORNADE. When she woke up, she called the pharmacy and she talked to the pharmacist about this. And he said, well, it's a fairly new medicine, and you can only get it at a hospital. And she knew she just couldn't call up or go to the hospital and hand them or say to them, I've received this dream prescription and its name is ORNADE. She knew she couldn't do that. And when she spoke to her doctor about it, the doctor said, well, it's not going to help you, so no, I'm not going to prescribe it for you. She put it aside and went about her own business. Several months later, she woke up with a very, very bad toothache, and she went to the dentist, and the dentist gave her a prescription, and you got it. The name of the medicine was ORNADE, Ornade, and within a year, she was the proud mama of a baby. Again, paying attention to your dreams is really important. The next story I'd like to share with you about this woman who was told in her dream that she had a tumor in her breast. And when she went to the doctor said, no, you're fine. She had another dream, and her spiritual guide came to her and told her very emphatically to get to the doctor and insist that they do exploratory surgery. And sure enough, when the doctor did the surgery, he noticed a tumor right where she had told them, right where this woman's spiritual guide had told her it would be. So by paying attention to her dream, by having the courage of what her spiritual guide told her, she was literally able to save her life. This woman needed to find a job, and she was fortunate. She was actually offered two jobs. One job was a place where her friend had worked, and she thought it would be fun. The second job had more possibilities for growth. So what she did was she went into her dream state and she asked about these two jobs, and she was shown that at the first job the floor was dirty and it just didn't have a good feel. In the morning she decided to take job B, which turned out to be the right job for her, as at the first job her friend had left, and the person who took the job was not a person that she really got along with. The second story I'd like to share with you is about a woman who was out of work for many, many years, and her husband kept on cutting out and circling job interviews from the newspaper, and she started to call, and all she got was, well, you've been out of work for so long and it's not a good economy. So she stopped taking advantage of what her husband was doing for her. And she had a dream where she was in a car with her husband, and they saw some people that they knew, so they pulled over, they stopped, they got out. And the husband went to talk to somebody he knew, and the woman went to talk to a woman and daughter that she knew. And they were talking about, they were looking for a picture frame, and the daughter wanted to have a necklace fixed. Anyway, she went and she had these things fixed, and when she went to give these fixed items to this mother and daughter, they showed no appreciation, and she wondered why she was even friends with them. When she woke up, she realized that this dream was about her. It was also a spiritual dream. Let's go back to what happened. She realized that she was not being grateful for everything that her husband was doing for her. Maybe she wasn't also grateful for what her spiritual guides were doing for her as well. Anyway, she looked at the newspaper. Her husband had given her a job interview to go to. She called them up, and again they said, no, there's nothing available. And within a couple of days, the employment agency woman called her and said that there was an interview that she wanted her to go on. Was she still available? And she said yes. She went with gratitude and being detached from the outcome, and sure enough, she got hired for the job. So by showing a little gratitude and appreciation, she received a job. Sometimes we can learn from a past life dream. Let me share a story about Sarah. Sarah worked in an office where she was quite happy. She also was friends with this coworker until one day the coworker came up to her and said she could no longer be her friend because she was ruthless. At this time, Sarah was planning a trip to Australia. Before she went, two things kept appearing before her. One had to do with hearing, and the other had to do with sight. It also bothered her that her coworker called her ruthless. She was on the plane going to Australia, and it was coming in for a landing, when her eardrum burst, and she was in amazing pain. When the officials from the airline offered her help, she refused. Her friend met her at the airport and had her son drive Sarah to the doctor, who informed her that she had to stay in bed for a week. Can you imagine? She was on vacation and she had to spend the time in bed. One night she asked for understanding as to why all this was happening to her. And she was shown a dream of a past life where she was a man and was sold to be a rower on a ship. He was kept in shackles all the time. He worked his way up to be in charge of the ship. However, he treated the men on the ship ruthlessly. He gave them bread and water and kept them in shackles for 3 months until their spirits were broken. One day the ship ran into a rock and the ship broke apart. Would you believe he never learned how to swim and he died a painful death? He had been ruthless to the men on his ship and was not open to receiving love. When she woke up from the dream, her hearing had been restored. And then she decided she would leave the hotel, and she was waiting on the street corner to cross the street, and she kept on hearing a beeping sound. And she asked the person next to her, what was that sound? She was told that the beeping was for blind people to let them know how long they had to cross the street. With her dream and the realization of his past life, she understood why she was cold and maybe even hard. When she returned to work, she had changed. Her coworker noticed the change and their friendship was reignited. Sarah's dream brought to the forefront and into her consciousness the why of her personality. How does a past life affect your life and maybe your shortcomings? Why don't you ask for a dream to be shown? And maybe you'll be shown the way like Sarah was. Thank you all for stopping by and watching this video. I hope you learned something new. If you want more information, or please, if there are any questions, please contact me, Carol, at lifedreamsandmore.com. Happy dreaming.